Ah, 333. Hello, everybody. We're starting the relationships, Eros, and intimacy workshop.
333. Hello, everybody.
We are together online for about 30 minutes on YouTube and Facebook, just for everyone to tune in. We're having a wonderful meeting for 3 hours. We have a special guest in about half an hour to offer the voice of the masculine, because when we are in relationships, we need to look at both sides, the masculine and the feminine. So it's going to be me speaking and my band of light, the way I call it, for a while. And then our special guest is Gaston Bacchiani, who, as you know, has been having workshops with me for more than 7 years now. We've been collaborating on different topics, especially pranic nourishment and high consciousness. But today we're also going to talk Tantra. We had a previous workshop on Tantra with him at the Pranic Festival in Romania. And now we're starting again this conversation, or we're continuing it, because we're also preparing a retreat. That's going to take place in south of France at the Mary Magdalene place around the spring. So we're building up for that. But we invited Gaston for today to bring in the masculine version of the story. I find that the topic of relationships is very, very important right now for everyone. As much as we try to shun it away or consider it unimportant, especially those on the pranic path or
recording in progress
path, I find that everyone at whatever level at some point has some type of important lesson or important joy in this field. So everyone basically has something to learn, something to gain, or something to improve in this field. And for me, I wish there was a school on relationships. I wish there was the main topic that we're taught since we're babies. I wish there was in the curriculum of every high school and primary school and all that stuff, because it's the first thing and the last thing that we do in life. We relate to each other. And no matter where you are at the spiritual level or social level or money level or your level of success, we ultimately all want to be loved, respected, accepted, and cherished for what we are. And that's the core theme of relationships and the core suffering even, because everybody at their core on some level feels unloved, unaccepted, misunderstood, unheard by the opposite sex, by their partner, by their family, by someone. You know, it's the general topic of the planet. Very few people that I've met have this state of being completely harmonious on this field. And those are usually the people who have got to that state by reaching in a specific harmony with themselves. So they're no longer being bound to the feedback that they get from the exterior, and they are able to regulate that feedback with their presence, with their energy, with their personal joy, and with their emanation. So, as I promised in the description of the video, of the workshop, I chose some topics for today, and I hope you also prepared some questions, because it's so important that we have an interactive sharing today. I don't want it to be unilateral. I don't want me to keep speaking and others to keep listening, but I would love it to be a dialogue, because in general, This is the basis of relationships, the dialogue between the two parts. And as much as we try to only present or look at our version, the most important version sometimes is the version of the one in front of us, because then we can, regulate our field accordingly. So we promised to talk about a few topics. I'm just going to list them, and during the day we'll just touch on them at the right time in the right pace. So we're probably going to start by sharing what is sacred sexuality and what do we mean by that, because everybody talks about sexuality, tantra, sacred sexuality and so on, but not many really get it. Like, what is that? There's several descriptions on the internet. I just recently read a few, and my head starts spinning, because everybody presents tantra from their own perspective, and not everybody's perspective is so clear, So that's going to be the first, I believe, the first topic that I'm going to touch upon. And we also want to talk about new ways of communicating with each other, because we are used to communicate in certain ways and use certain patterns that are mostly based on control and manipulation. However much we would like to disregard that, and I know someone watching can think in their head, oh, I'm never going to do this, I'm never doing that. And at the subtle level, there's always, in most people, a controlling or manipulated intention behind their sharing or their words. And if you really look deeply inside yourself, you're going to be ready to admit it. And some will not be ready to admit it, and some maybe they don't do that. But whenever you speak, and especially when you share something from, deeper perspective, look at maybe the reason you're doing it. And if you look behind the reason you're doing it, you're going to see why you are communicating. Are you really communicating to speak something that streams from the core of your heart, from the deepest corners of your soul, to enlighten the other one, to put them in a nice vibe, in a beautiful emanation, or are you communicating to get something out of that? That's very important to know. And then when you are aware of where are you talking from, you can then modulate the way you communicate, the way you listen to the other person, and it's going to be much easier for you to transmit what you want to say, and also understand what the others are saying instead of misunderstanding. Because sometimes when people communicate back at us, we filter what they say through our own realities, patterns, or windows. And those windows might be glass clean, crystal clear, or they might be imprinted with some of our traumas and patterns and all that stuff that has imprinted us. And so we're looking through that at what we hear, and when we hear it, we can't really hear it right. We get a different perspective than what the other one wanted to say. So that's making relationships complicated, and I sometimes have looked at myself in the past, hearing something and feeling an inner reaction, like we all do. And then when I look deeper, I had to ask myself, is this coming because the other person meant it that way, or because I have a wound within myself that has understood it that way? And most of the times the answer was B. It was about me and what I'm hearing through my own filters. And I'm guessing, but correct me if I'm wrong, that many people go through the same thing. And it's very wise, especially when you get triggered by what your partner or someone in your environment has said. When you get triggered, look, before reacting, before putting a label on it, before concluding that this relationship is bad or this person is not respecting me and this and that, look at which is the filter or the wound through which I'm hearing it. And when you get it, you're gonna maybe laugh at the whole situation. Because sometimes the things people say and mean are very different than what we actually hear. Very different sometimes. And it's very important that whenever we feel triggered or wounded or uncherished, that we ask back, what did you mean? What was your perspective on what we wanted to, what did you want to say? So whenever we clarify those things, it's easier for the other person to get to us, to relate to us, to pass through or above those filters that we sometimes have and most people have in relating to another. So we're going to go deeper into that. Maybe you have some examples of your lives where you had that situation. We can bring them up, we can maybe clarify, but communication is the basis and the foundation of intimacy. So to me, there's no intimacy without seeing into me. Everybody now in Tantra workshops and in, the intimacy workshops, they spell this word in a specific way for us to realize. So they spell intimacy like into me, see. Like, I'm allowing yourself to see through me totally, so that's my way of being intimate with you. How do we do that? By completely opening up and by clearing the debris between us and by communicating clearly and allowing the other to see our authentic self and not a version of ourselves or a pattern of ourselves that we want to offer out into the world, thinking that this is going to be the thing that others will love. Others, you never know what a person would fall in love for. I've actually fallen in love with a partner of mine the second time. That's going to be amusing. When I saw him sitting on the toilet. Like literally, I bumped into him. I was, watching my phone and not paying attention, and I entered the bathroom, and there he was, and he made a face, and that's when I fall in love the second time. Right? So because of that face, not because of the whole landscape, but you would never imagine that someone would actually fall in love with you while you're sitting on a toilet. That would be the last thing that is sexy to people's minds, right? Or attractive or special or whichever way appealing, right? I would never think of that as my prelude for anything, right? But there are moments in your life and in our lives when we open our hearts to things that apparently have no importance in the rules of sexiness and attraction and the catalogs of how to get your man or the perfect woman. There's instances of perfect sharing or perfect authenticity or perfect, no filter stuff that make you fall in love with each other. And to me, those are the most appealing things. The ones that are completely authentic, completely like soul naked stuff. I never open up to the facade or built up speeches or constructed attitudes you can see when someone is trying to impress or, faking it to some level, even if they don't know it. I feel no drive to that. It's like complete, I'm blank. I don't react. I'm like the dogs or the bears that smell your fear or smell our unauthenticity, and they don't, you're not going to get something good out of me. But when a person is completely authentic, and it doesn't matter in which way, completely authentic in their anger sometimes, or in their suffering. It doesn't have to be something nice. Or in their not knowing. You see someone that is completely oblivious to something, and he's authentic in their obliviousness. That's when I click. That's when I open up, because there's so much unauthenticity in the world, so much fake constructions, fake personas, fake, that authenticity, I just bow to authenticity. It's just sexy as fuck. So that's what draws me. And I don't know if that rings a bell for you ever, but to me that's one of the main things, and I think it is essential in communication, because that was the topic that was brought up. Then we're gonna talk about dealing with emotions. That's crucial. You know, when you're authentic, you show your emotions, you show what you feel, you let the filters and the guards down, and you are, you know, like a baby or like a pet that is completely there to show you who or what they are. And in that process, you show emotions. The problem is that in our society, we've been taught in so many ways to not show emotions at all, to try to block them, shove them under the carpet, present them in a nicely cloaked way so that they look not so aggressive or not so intense, because we deeply think that most people won't love us if they see our emotions in the real way, the way they are. I'm gonna just debunk that here and now, because one of the most attractive things, or one of the most sexy things for the people who are whole and healed, are authentic emotions. A man will never fall head over heels of a woman that is blocking her emotions. Why? Because essentially she's blocking her femininity. She is not there fully. She's presenting a masculine version of herself, the strong, tough, you'll never get to me one. And who wants a person that they could never get to, you know? Like, yes, there are people who like the struggle and the fight and the fakeness and all that, but the authentic, healed, complete, whole men are truly attracted by authentic and genuine emotions in a woman. And the other way around. I love men that are in touch and in contact with their emotions. I just love them. Be them friends, lovers, whoever. I just love to be around a person of masculine gender, whichever body they choose to be, you know, but of masculine gender, that are able to know what they are feeling and state what they are feeling and show their emotions. I don't know, is that attractive to you? Is that sexy? Is that appealing? When a man is connected in that way to himself and showing it and expressing it? I just freaking love it. I find it like sexy because, again, it's walls that are moving away. And it's the authentic self coming out. Of course, you don't want a person crying in your lap every day. That's something that needs a bit of healing, maybe, on some sides. But like genuine emotions coming out authentically from time to time and being spoken out with courage and dignity and harmony, that's like freaking sexy. I just love it. And without it, I feel I'm bumping into a wall with people. Like, show me your soul. Who are you really? Not the guarded persona that you try to be. So emotions we're going to discuss, and that's when we're truly tuning into ourselves, when we connect to our emotions. And Gaston is going to help us more with that, because he's going to explain how to deal with emotions. He's going to show us methods maybe of integrating them, because emotions are energy, and instead of blocking them, you can use them as fuel. So his specialty is emotions and how to work with them. And we had beautiful workshops at the festival with him about the feeling technology and how to integrate emotions. So that's what he's going to help us with. Plus, of course, the perspective of the masculine side on relationships and eros and intimacy. We're going to talk about body work to declutter our energy. We need to be aware of how our energy is in our body in order for us to function harmoniously. So when our energy is cluttered by either emotions or unresolved feelings, uncommunicated things, white lies that are piling up usually in relationships and all that stuff, somewhere in our body that thing is piling up, like it's really building up into some kind of clutter. And the lack of libido, the lack of attraction, the lack of chemistry between partners that usually shows up after 1 or 2 years, the famous, the honeymoon is over time. That's not because you got tired of that person and you want someone new. That's because there's so much piled up stuff that you haven't cleared between you. Who resonates with that? Yeah, so the main thing when we start decluttering a relationship or bringing people back together is to look at what emotions and what conflicts are not expressed, or whatever it is that is not expressed. Sometimes it might be unexpressed love, unexpressed gratitude, unexpressed appreciation. I'm not gonna just sugar him up every day, then he's gonna get all in his head. No, like praise him. Make him a statue and pray at it, whatever, because men love to be appreciated and praised. That's what they are nourished by. That's the fuel that they function in a relationship. And I'm going to give you a few examples, but correct me if I'm wrong. That's what men are all about. Praise and appreciation and love and feeling accepted. And I'm going to, just for the sake of having fun with it, I was looking at one of my colleagues or someone I didn't know so well. We were in Thailand near a pool, and he was with a girlfriend, and he was I was just sitting there sun gazing, and he kept arranging the chair, the sunbed for that person, for that girl, putting him a little bit over there, a little bit over there, and moving it around for her to be comfortable and so on. And she didn't seem to appreciate it so much. But at the time I was single for many, many years, nobody moving my chair around, it was about 3 years ago. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, that must be so good. That must feel amazing. So I told him, dude, you are doing an amazing thing for her. I mean, that's so... I said something, appreciative, like it's so amazing that men are still, it's so amazing that you're taking care of your partner in this way, and that, you show your love and appreciation so deeply, and you are making sure that she gets enough sun and stuff like that. The minute I said that, he become 4 times more attentive and caring and with all of us, like I didn't have to make specific requests. I didn't have to nag at him, bring me my this, do me this, and with other men and what. The moment you show appreciation, they really become even more a better version of themselves. Just by that. Did you know that? Yeah, not really, right? Because we try to model our men, truth be told, by either withdrawing our energy, setting sets of rules, putting boundaries. We kind of, most women treat them like kids in a way. Like you set some rules for them to know that they did something wrong or didn't do something good or are not good people or whatever, and then you scold them or don't give them the cookie or whatever, but in truth they function much better when instead of, there have to be some ground rules, but when they're expressed with love, it's a different thing. And instead of making rules, or setting boundaries, you are appreciative first for all the good stuff that they are trying to do for you to feel good. Because they're trying their asses out sometimes. And sometimes they don't, because they see you bitter every day and they go to the conclusion that nothing works, whatever I do, it will never be pleasing her. And most men are hurting in their hearts terribly. After some time of a relationship, whatever I do, my wife or partner is never happy. Whatever I try, I would never be good enough for her. That's their core feeling. As soon as you start to nag them or scold them or make rules, they start to shut down little by little bit, and eventually they build up this conclusion that is deeply rooted in every man since their childhood, even, because their mothers did the same, that whatever I do, I'm never going to be good enough. And as soon as you touch that wound, again and again and again, they're going to close up more and more and more. The end result, separation. The energy starts to shut down, it starts to, they start to move away, they start to close up. Who experienced that? Yeah, me too. So, until I discovered that, I was doing the same. Maybe I still do sometimes because it's still so deeply rooted from generations and generations and generations of screwed up relating, truth be told, that we tend to go into the same patterns. But as soon as I catch myself being nagging or bitchy or discontented, even within myself energetically, because they can smell it. They smell it like sharks smell blood, or when you're bitching inside yourself, even if you don't say anything, they're still gonna feel it. So I try to move myself consciously into a state of appreciation by will. It doesn't have to just come on me, like shower on me, because sometimes they forget to let the seed down, or take the garbage out, or do what they said they will do, or be good enough, or in whatever way we feel they need to be good enough. But for sure, it's not out of love, out of lack of love. It's because it's human nature. It's because you yourself fuck up sometimes. It's because we are cluttered with so much mixed messages in all our lives, day to day, trying to make it through the day, especially if we don't have a daily practice to center ourselves. So it's so hard for them to be perfect all the time, or to do everything all the time the way they promised, or the way we want to, or let the slippers out, whatever, the small details that piss us off over the years. And that's not lack of love, that's not lack of respect, that's them being human the same way we are. So going back into the state of appreciation for the fact that they are alive, they are healthy, they are there by our side, and they're trying their best, and asking yourselves, when we're not at our best, when we're not receiving our best, what do we need to tweak in ourselves as partners to receive that from the other? That's my essence, and that's what I'm all about. I try and aim to never blame the other for the outcome that they put out. I try to always look at them as a mirror. And when they're not good enough, in my perspective, I must look at where am I neglecting myself? Where am I letting myself down? Where am I putting myself aside? Where am I not paying attention to myself in such a way that the partner or the other person, whoever they are, they're not showing that for me, So that's another important thing, and we can expand on that. And if you have questions or examples or anything, let's just start talking. But decluttering is essential. And how do we declutter emotionally? That's a question that is important for everyone. Okay, I have all this stored anger. What do I do with it? I throw it on the other person? No, they're gonna get hurt. And because I love them, I don't want to hurt them. So what do I do? Yes, every day when you're feeling angry, or frustrated, or discontented, or tired, you have to find a way to manage that and regulate that energy before it lashes onto your partner. Otherwise, you're going to be the one to hurt. It's just a boomerang effect. The other, in Tantra, is called the alter ego, which means another you. Do you want to hurt yourself? No, so don't hurt the other person, right? It's essential. It's like key. Whenever we have the mechanisms that everybody has built up the mechanisms that everybody has built up to make the other know that he was wrong. And there are mechanisms, the punishment mechanisms, or the energy withdrawal mechanisms, or the whatever it is. Instead of that, instead of recurring to that instantly, because it's a mechanism, it's a pattern, it's something you've learned to do, just go and ask yourself, how can I go into even more openness? How can I communicate this with the maximum amount of love and kindness so that the other person knows that I want a little more, but doesn't feel like he's not good enough or that he failed? This is essential, to never let the other person feel you have failed me. Because the fear of failure is one of the greatest fear in life, and especially in men, but also in women. So avoiding to stir that emotion of you're not good enough or you have failed, avoiding that and trying to communicate things with the best love and appreciation and grace that you can have, I believe that's the essence in a relationship. And yes, sometimes you need to be a bad girl or a bad boy and put things right and have a different tone of voice or a bit of firmness or whatever, but that doesn't have to be the daily routine, because that's not going to end up well. So decluttering, and we're going to talk about emotions, how to declutter in our organs, because each emotion is stored in an organ. Hi Gaston, thank you for being with us. I'm just I'm presenting the topics, and then you're in right away. So yes. Just in a few minutes, and I'm also gonna turn around the laptop so that the people can see. Then we go deeper into sex, right? Because that's part of our topic today, the Eros or sexual sharing. And it's important to look at how we can reignite our passion. I was saying that most of it's decluttering our emotions and decluttering the baggage that we have stored, but sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes we have to learn new tricks and moves, because things can get boring, and that's the truth. I mean, if you do the same things over and over and over again for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, you're going to get bored. It's like eating the same breakfast every day, right? So you need to always, as in every topic of your life, re-educate yourself or grow your potential on that, because there's so much being available right now, so much information, so much visuals, so much to learn, so much to do, that sticking to the same things is sometimes, not wanting to grow. And I've personally been interested in sexuality and tantra since I was an adolescent, without necessarily having a sex interest per se, but I was interested in how our bodies work and what we can do with them. And I read Kama Sutra when I was 13, just because it seemed interesting, like, wow, this is what humans can do, like, this is because it was very scientific to me. Like, if you do this position, this will happen in your body. And to me, it was science and anatomy. It was not going through an erotic filter at that time, but it was very specific and clear way for people to get along and have a fun time together, which seemed, wow, like humans can do it. Wow, that's so interesting. So since that time and over till now, almost 30 years later, I'm still educating myself every week on this topic, because there's so much to learn. And not only, about positions and stuff, it's also about the hormonal system that plays an important part in our erotic behavior, about our genitals, about all the systems in our body, the foods that we can consume or not consume to have a better sex life. All that stuff is very, very important. And trust me that most people don't know almost anything about it. Like nothing, basically. The basics, but not much. So we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to move our sexual energy into spiritual energy, you know, ascend it, transform it, use it for something else, especially if you're single, but also if you're with a partner, you can actually use that energy for much more than sex, for much more than having babies. You can create with it entire projects or even worlds, either by yourself or with a partner. So if that's something interesting for you, I hope you resonate. We're going to talk about multi-orgasmic women, multi-orgasmic men, multi-orgasmic couple. Yes, you can have more than one orgasm per sexual act, and that's great because at least for us, we can have dozens, thousands, you know, there's no limit. And for men as well, as soon as they learn to circulate their energy. Otherwise, it's just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They don't get the most of it, and we can, you know, have fun in the process. But it's important that both partners learn how to share that energy in a way that they both become multi-orgasmic. And from there, sky is no longer the limit, you know. So we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch upon some heart-opening practices, Taoist practices, and we're also, you know, that include as well decluttering emotions and decluttering our body in general. We're going to talk about polarity games because it's so much misinterpretation or even unhealed energy on the masculine and feminine and what polarity really is. And most couples are now depolarized. That's why attraction or the basic human sharing is not so harmonious these days. So we're going to talk about getting back into the harmonious feminine, getting back into harmonious masculine, and how we can make love to be longer, stronger, and better. And I'm talking about sex and love, you know. And we're going to also touch on solo practice. If you don't have a partner, what do? Do you give up pleasure? Or if your partner is not interested, or if your partner is, you know, on another bandwidth, we have to have methods to move our energy and to get happy on all levels. So that's what we're going to talk about. So this is the general intention of the day. And of course, if you have questions, bring them in because we're going to, you know, expand. And maybe we're not going to touch on all of this, but that's my intention. And now we're going to just present also our colleague. And I'm going to have to turn the cameras away. Bye-bye to everyone on Facebook and Insta. That's been the introduction. Hope to have you in the class. You can still sign up and get the access to the live or the recording of it. There's a link in bio on Insta, a link in the description of the video on Facebook. Big hugs to all and hope to see you here with us. We're now going to continue with the participants in this gathering. And